Jimmy McAllister found the net. Goal for Wednesday.
A terrific goal by Shayna.
Chris Waddle, is he going to have a crack?
Oh, he does, and it's goal. Still Glenn Wheeler. Aidan Flynn works the goal.
Is there time for a winner?
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Tie-Dye podcast. I'm James Mappin. This is Extra Time. Alongside me once again is Mr. Matt Johnson. We've got rid of Dom, but we've kept Matt alongside me. We're going to be talking about a few things, how bad 15 points deduction might be for us next season being one of them. But first, I just wanted to kind of touch on the rhetoric that we're seeing quite a lot of. Just throw the kids in, and I think a lot of people have said it, but there was Sam Reed's dad, Stacey Reed, put a tweet over on X, which some may have seen, and I just wanted to highlight that because Matt, I think we've all fallen foul of saying just put the kids in. We just see them as players, and they've got a blue and white shirt. Why don't they use it and why don't they play and stuff like that? We've all fallen foul of saying that, haven't we, from time to time?
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose I'm looking at it from the perspective of, when players talk about they've played at a top six club and they have professional footballing experience on their CV for playing for like a Manchester United or an Arsenal or a whoever, is that actually, even if it's Sheffield Wednesday and its current guys, they'll still hit branches on the way down because they have got, like if we were to say release, we've spoke about him a lot. Obviously, we spoke about him on the main pod this evening. We spoke about him a lot a couple of weeks ago. If we were to release Bailey Cadamartri tomorrow, he will have lots of suitors in League One because he's played and and you said at the time when he scored his first goal, he's now a championship goal scorer for Sheffield Wednesday. He's played at the level. He's then had a spell in League One where he has scored goals as well. He will hit goals in League One. Do I think that's where his level currently is? Probably, but the bank of evidence suggests that might not be. I can guarantee if we released him tomorrow, the top six in that division would all take a look at him. Every single one of them would all take a look at him and go, can we get him? Do you reckon we can get him on the cheap? I'm just looking at it from the perspective of, I could use the same MO for George Brown or Ernie Weaver or even Pierce Charles. Pierce Charles, we have no idea what kind of a goalkeeper Pierce Charles is going to be in 5 years' time. I can speculate on it, but we have no idea. Shay Charles is exactly the same. We saw Shay Charles for a full season in a Sheffield Wednesday team last year. That may be the best football that Shay Charles ever plays in his career. We don't know, but because we've had some game time, they will hit branches on the way down. What I don't want to fall foul of is what we've done in previous years. If you take Jack Stobbs, who has recently done a podcast and talked about his time at Sheffield Wednesday, is having a player who is probably capable of, mixing it in League Two for a little period of time. We don't play him, we release him. He then sits on a sofa for a year because he can't get a club because nobody knows who the fuck he is. That's kind of where I'm coming at it from.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, really. I think when I look at it, the reason why they're probably not playing is maybe they're not up to the physical demands that are required at championship level. I think also all you've got to look at the under 21s in terms of they're not tearing up the league that they're in at the moment. They're not winning every single week. They're not smashing teams. They're not like this standout performer. I know obviously now that under 21s has been totally decimated because they're all playing first team football now or certainly going to be involved in first team and stuff. But previously, we haven't had a plethora of players coming out of the academy. If we did, fair enough, but we don't. Literally, we still regard Liam Palmer as the last player to come out of the academy of any sort of gravitas, I guess. Now, I just wanted to point people in the direction of Stacey Reid. Like I said, some will recognise the name. Sam Reid was his lad who he had on the books. He's I think he made his debut against Coventry in the FA Cup. I want to say I think that was in the replay at Coventry at the CBS Arena, if it was called that then.
Did he also, James? Sorry to interrupt. Did he also play at like Lincoln or somewhere like that? I don't know. Not Lincoln, Exeter or somewhere like that in the cup during COVID.
No, because you're thinking of the other one whose name eludes me now. There was a young lad who played there, who's again since been released and probably deployed in a similar situation as what Sam's in. You know, Sam's found himself playing for Altrincham. Anyway, like Stacey, his dad made some great points on. You might have seen the X-post. He's like basically 4 screenshots of the notes app on his phone that he's put down. But I'll read some of them out because I think it does make for great reading and a bit of like kind of a comparison as to where they're actually at. I think we're losing a bit of sight of this sometimes. It says a Cat 2 Academy, which is on par with Step 3 and 4 of non-league. A Cat 1 Academy is on par with Step 1 to 2 of non-league. And he says, and that's shown with the National League Cup, where the under-21 Cat 1 academies compete but regularly get beaten in that competition. He says, we've hung on to our Cat 2 status for the last 7 years. So he says we're probably more closer to a Category 3 than we are a Category 2 at this moment in time. And just for a bit of context as well, Step 3 in this region is the Northern Prem. Step 4 of non-league is the Northern Division 1, which is split up into 3. You've got Stocksbridge, Park Steels, they came out of the Div 1 East, are now playing in the Prem. There's likes of Cleethorpes, Whitby, FC United of Manchester. There's some right away days there, isn't there? Cleethorpes away, Whitby away. There's some absolute bangers down there. But yeah, to just give you a bit of context on that, he also says several of our first team are under 21 players and should be nowhere near the first team. They could possibly compete at Step 3 of non-league, given their age and physique. He says if the kids started, we'd be going down 6, 7 and 8 and would be consistently, you'd need to be consistently good just to get a point. I think it is that start realisation there, isn't it, Matt, of the level that these players are. And to be fair, you see it because when I know you mentioned Bailey Cadamartri there, and he's probably a bit of an outlier because he has actually played. But how many times do you see an academy player get released and you look and see where they've gone, and it'll say we wish them all well at Spennymoor Athletic or whatever. It's always a team in non-league. They never fall into a league club. I suppose what's that point? You look at Charlie McNeil, falls out of Man United Academy, and he hits Sheffield Wednesday on the way down in the Championship. Like these players just aren't at that level, are they? And I suppose if they were that good, they would just move on to a better academy, and we wouldn't be able to keep hold of them, I guess.
I think it depends, is my honest answer, because I would also say from that Category 2 academy, Manchester City have paid 1.5 million for Keelan Cole Cadamartri this year. I would also suggest we've watched Pierce Charles come through that academy as well. I know he hasn't been there since a kid, but he's come through that academy as well. I'd also here point to Ernie Weaver. I'd also point to George Brown, as in terms of, if we're just going off the football that I've seen them play this season, I would suggest that both of them are more than capable of playing League One football. And I know confidence plays a big factor in that. Whilst I agree in principle, because obviously football is a numbers game in terms of the majority of those players will go to where they have gone to, I would also suggest that a regular Championship goal scorer and a player who has played Premier League football as recently as last year, George Hurst, has come out of that academy as well. So whilst I'm not completely throwing everything under the bridge here, there's been reports this week of Yissa Alau being rumoured and touted for a £500,000 bid from Manchester United. I'm not rubbishing what he's saying in any way, sense or form, because Stacey knows far more about Category 1, 2, 3 academy football than I will ever know. But I am also looking at it from the perspective of, even if we are losing every game like this season, we are just losing games hand over fist this year. So actually, if you are like we were at the weekend, probably more than likely going to lose the game. Shouldn't have been 3-1, should have been 2-1. What is the harm and difference in chucking Jarvis Thornton, Reece Johnson on for 10 minutes at the end of the game to negate the load of those other players? Does that make sense?
Yeah, there is that. But then what you could throw in the opposite direction is, what is the benefit to those players from chucking them on for 5 or 10 minutes at a time? And which, when you look at the games that we've played this season, in this instance, you come on with, I mean, when did Ipswich score their third goal? 87th minute. Them three players came on. The game was 2-1, I suppose. You could argue we were slightly in the ascendancy. We were pushing for that second goal, and then they've gone down the other end and made it 3-1. There's other games where the Derby game is a prime example, as in not the Steel City Derby on Monday, 3-0 down. Like, there's a lot of games where we are not even in the game whatsoever. The players are spent, and then you bring these young lads on, and I get what you're saying. It's an extra body, but that's almost like chucking the lambs to the slaughterhouse. Really, I don't know how that's really going to help their development, because we've all. And I know on the main pod I was talking about how, you know, the players are spent, and I was talking about the EFL need to help, or these some rules, or need to bring some players in just to, from a humanity standpoint and things. But I look at the players, and I suppose Don made a great point. Looking ahead to next season, where we might need a Jarvis Thornton, a Reece Johnson, whoever else we might have, George Brown and Ernie Weaver, could playing them now, because we've still got a lot of football between now and the end of the season, could that actually hinder them rather than help them? I don't know.
My personal opinion is I don't see it with those more role-playing under 21s, under 23s, whatever you want to call it, just because of the minutes and the limited game contact that they are having. So say, for argument's sake, let's take arguably this season's player of the season, Harry Amass. He's a championship wing-back for me. That's as far as he's going to go. Like, I really, that's not me trying to be horrible about him, because he's been fantastic for us this season. On the strength of what I've seen, he is certainly not better than Leif Davis, who he was lining up against on Saturday. I would look at him and think he's not big enough to play top division football. He's not quick enough to play top division football. He hasn't got a unique selling point that's going to make him a top division footballer. I would also argue the same about Conor Bradley at Liverpool. Conor Bradley at Liverpool had a fantastic game against Real Madrid. Look who's playing around him. Look who he's playing near and close to him, and look who he's in close proximity to. You know, when we were talking about, and I made the argument of like bodies and needs must. In this situation, you kind of deal with the cards that you've been given. And whilst we're saying it's not potentially great for their development, I agree with you. It's not. It's a horrendous mental situation to come into. I'd also argue, is it been beneficial for our first team players? Because I would argue that if you're a first team player, if your agent is half decent, aside from Baz, you're telling your client, get the fuck out of there. I don't care who's just bought them. I don't care if you're going to be like on the money that you would be in the Championship in League One. You're getting out of there. You need somewhere different to kickstart. Ike Ugbo, prime example. You need a move to kickstart and revitalise your career. Kadamatri doesn't score for the rest of the season. Let's move you while there's a market now. Let's get on the phone to Danny and see if Rangers will take you, because I bet he will. I bet he'll take you. He always liked you. And that, it sounds horrible. It's the brutal reality of where we're at. It is very much this season sink or swim for these players. Can you cut it? And you can't analyse it on results on the pitch. It's what do you do in your individual moments when the ball is either at your feet or in one-to-one situations. Are you the player who makes the mistake? If you aren't, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I'll go back to, I've seen people mention Yusser Alau, that some of the other clubs are sniffing around him, but they are sniffing around the lad who's 16, 17 years old. Like, they're not going to thrust him straight into the starting lineup.
No.
They're gonna. What these big clubs do is just hoover up all the talent that's in the country or in the area, and hoping that one or two of them make it to the big time, and all the others. They move them on for a tidy bit of profit, not masses, but there's that many of them that that then goes on to pay for the academy and stuff.
Correct.
Liverpool are still dining out on Trent Alexander-Arnold. I know he didn't actually didn't pay for him or anything like that, but they had a player that's worth X amount of millions, so they didn't have to go out and spend someone for that. There's that way to look at it and stuff. I just look. I'm saying all this. I've fallen foul myself of wanting to see the kids. You look at it and go, well, they did all right against Leeds and they did all right against Bolton, but they were they're one-offs. And I kind of alluded to this on the main show, how I was saying, you can give 110% effort for a game which could be your last. That first game against Bolton, had we have not got progressed in that competition, some of these young lads, we may never have seen an Ernie Weaver because we perhaps might not even known how good he actually was, and a George Brown, because you could argue that they, in the other two games as well, they added to how good they were.
Yeah.
So. But you can't then do that in every game. There is also an element of, we think Ernie Weaver and George Brown are the cream of the crop. We're now looking at the other players as well, which are further down the pecking order. And I want to see them do well. I want to see these young lads come in. I think the Reece Johnson one is a very unfortunate one because the position he plays, we have arguably the
player of the season.
The player of the season that's playing there, and probably also has to play week in, week out, given the contractual situation with Manchester United as well. So I do really feel for Reece Johnson. I mean, the injury to Max Lowe might give a bit of an opening for Reece Johnson, but then he's going to be playing out of position, playing as playing at left centre half maybe, rather than playing at left back or left wing back where he probably wants to play. But I just. It's a tricky one. It's a difficult one that we're gonna have to try and navigate. I only see it ending one way, which is a bit of a pummeling. But I suppose we're in a situation where we've got no option, have we, at the moment? It doesn't matter what I say or what Stacey says. We literally haven't got any players, have we, at the moment?
And that is 100% where I sit, James. Is that what we should have been doing is creating an effective pathway to give players 10 games or 6 games to actually be able to make an evaluation. The back end of last season was a prime example. We were playing for absolutely nothing. With the benefit of hindsight, we've now know that we were playing for absolutely nothing from Cardiff. We had 7 games there. You could have blooded some of these. You chose not to. Why? Probably because Danny knew what was coming down the pipeline and all the rest of it. But the point I think I'm trying to make here is, yes, ideally, I would like to see minutes being managed. I would like to see players like George Brown, like Ernie Weaver, being given a chance. And if they do well, like Ernie Weaver and George Brown did at Portsmouth, they get another opportunity the week after. They get another opportunity the week after. There was an incident on Saturday where I think it was Harry Amass had been pushed further forward into like a left wide forward position, which he most certainly is not. You could tell that from the minute that he received the ball. And it was Jarvis Thornton played a 1-2 with Reece Johnson, and the first bit was really slick, and then the ball's passed out of play. This is a season where no Wednesday fan is going to go, oh, fucking hell, that's dog shit, they're not good enough. I can sit here and make a point that now I don't think Reece Johnson is good enough. I don't think he's good enough for League One. I think he's good enough for League Two. I don't think Jarvis Thornton is a central midfielder at this level. Do I think that... I can't believe I'm saying this about Starboy. Do I think Sean Fasire is a championship player? No, I don't. I don't think he's a championship player. I think he's a League One player. The point being, you will never know until you play them. And actually, if you are looking for a season where there are no expectations, where you're not being... Because I would argue that coming into a game where you are 3-0 down, there's no pressure on you as a kid. Because you can come in and go, fucking hell, getting tanked here. Doesn't really matter if I make a mistake, does it? Because we're already 4-0 down. We're not playing in games where the game's 1-1. and a manager's turning to you and saying, you've got to come on and make a difference, or you've got to come on and see this out. We're not doing that this year. We're coming on and saying, get some minutes in your legs, go out and enjoy it, make sure your first passes are good, and after that, anything that happens, happens.
Yeah, that is a great point. It shouldn't matter, but the reality is that sometimes it does, doesn't it? Really, like it's easy to say that and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm just yeah, we'll have to see what happens. Let's see what happens in a few weeks' time. We are going to see these youngsters play, and yeah. Let's see what happens.
One of them will start at the back on Friday, won't they? Because we've got Dominic Iorfa out and Max Lowe, potentially. Because if Dominic Iorfa's come off with a concussion, he's going to have to go through concussion protocol. He won't be clear of that by Friday. Yeah. Max Lowe, if it is a groin or a hamstring, that ain't going to be quick. Muscle injuries on, and judging by Henrik's post-match press conference, there we go. That was even difficult when I slowed it down. He's not going to be back. Charlie McNeil isn't going to play because Charlie McNeil's potentially got a broken or bruised rib. So what? These kids are going to have to play. We haven't got. We've got two players who are off at AFCON. They're going to get the chance, and you'll be able to tell in isolation if they're okay or not.
Yeah, I think what you said about him playing like 4 or 5 games is a good point. And when you look at us over the last, well, obviously it's not just been the last 10 years or so. It's been like this at Sheffield Wednesday for a long, long time. But certainly, if you look at like the previous years, you look at the season where we go down. We're fighting for his lives. You know, we've had points deductions and stuff. That's difficult to try and bring youngsters in because you're fighting for your life every time. You want your best players playing week in, week out. You then look to that first League One season where you're looking to rebound straight back into the Championship. We're up near the top. Again, you've got to win it. You're trying to win every single game. That's not really a time where you can just start throwing youngsters in. All right, you could probably do it for the last 10 or 15 minutes, which never did. But we were always like, got to play best 11. Again, same thing on that season where we go up. You know, we don't actually get promotion. Imagine if we'd thrown it away because we'd chucked a few of the kids on and stuff. Then the meltdown that we'd have had.
Sorry to interrupt. Who's the player who was given lots of opportunities, young player, who's gone on to be a hell of a player in that promotion season?
Yeah, exactly.
What an amount of abuse that he got, and that's where that's where the mentality at the football club has to change. Because as you've said, this season, Pierce Charles, Ernie Weaver. After that, you're sort of struggling. George Brown. One of those has to hit one, and you've done well, because that's what academies are. Like, one of those does well. So Pierce Charles, we know he's going to do well, and we're going to be able to sell him in the summer for good money. You'd argue Ernie Weaver has a good season in League One next year. Who's to say he doesn't go on and do what Liam Kitchen has done at Coventry, where, like, we don't go up, someone like Coventry comes in for him, bids 6-7 million for him, and we sell him. That's good. That's a good use of your academy. Like, that is what they're there for. You only need one of those to hit, and then, this sounds horrible, Jarvis Thornton, McGee, Joe Emery, all of those players, if they fall by the wayside, not one fucking person will talk about them.
Yeah, that's it. We're in this situation where, and I think Stacey said it as well himself, these lads shouldn't actually be playing. Like, we shouldn't actually be seeing any of these players, like, because they're just not at the level. The level that we're playing at as a football club doesn't match the level of the academy. Like, the academy is just too, which is why they've not played. Like, which is why we don't get players coming through, because they're simply just not good enough. I always go back to Matt Penny. I was crying out for Matt Penny to play under Jos Lukai. He came on, he was utter dog shit, and then I realised why he perhaps hadn't been playing for all season. So, yeah.
But again, James, going back into because I know we're trying to wrap it up on this particular topic here. Harry Amass, how do you know he's good enough? Man United trusted him to play in a game against Leon. You have to give them an opportunity. You have to give them, like, time and minutes to see. They're probably going to get more this season than you would like them to. Yeah. But if a Cat 1 academy, so Man United, Man City, all of these are Cat 1 academies, they're only as good as the National League. Okay, cool. By that logic, Harry Amass is that good. We're not talking about him. We're talking about all of the players, and we're not chucking all of the under-23s in, are we?
Yeah, that's it. They're good enough at that point, and I suppose it doesn't mean they can't go on to higher things. You mentioned that earlier about kind of you have to play them and stuff, and I was treading water massively, and because it went straight out of my mind, but it's come back to me now. It's and it's one of my biggest frustrations, not in just football, but just in life in general. How people, like that, you don't know until they try, but people are so like. Those that are tried and tested, that will always work, apparently, according to everyone. And just because it hasn't worked for someone in one situation means it will never work in all of the situations. And it just really annoys me how, like in football as well, like who's to say that he's that good, and who's to say that he's that good? Like, do you know what I mean? Like two players, because ultimately, like. I know people are going to be listening, going, "Well, it's obvious. You just watch them play, and you can tell." But you see some players have a purple patch. Ike Ugbo, prime example. Yeah, he is. He could. If you look at his numbers, he actually has shown no signs of doing that throughout his career. He's not been a prolific goal scorer, and then all of a sudden scores loads of goals. So we think he's an amazing player. Jordan Rhodes is another example.
Yep.
Speak to any Sheffield Wednesday fan, dog awful, utterly worst player you've ever seen in your life.
Weak, slow, don't win headers, etc., etc.
Yeah, doesn't take a penalty and all this lot. Speak to a Huddersfield fan, best thing since sliced bread, best striker they've ever had in the world. So, like, just because, depending on who you listen to, you're going to get a wildly different a different answer. And I struggle with that as well, because I'm very much a maths brain. 2 and 2 is 4, and it can't be 5 ever. So I do struggle with that sometimes. But anyway, right, let's get on to starting next season with minus 15 points, which looks like it could be happening. We could be staring that in the face if some reports are led to believe. If Ashley gets the club, it looks like it's probably going to be minus 15. I'll kick this off, Matt. I did a bit of research. But all I did is I looked at the last 6 times we were in League One and how many points we were on and where we would have been with the minus 15. So go right back to 2003, 2004, back when it was Division 2, not League 1 back then. 16th, 53 points. We'd have had 38, which would have put us 23rd and relegated. We'd have needed 66 to stay up, obviously with the minus 15 on top of that. So basically, we needed to finish 10th before the points deductions to stay up that season. The following season, we finished 5th on 72 points. Obviously, we get promoted at Cardiff. 57 points we would have had with the minus 15. We'd have finished 16th that season. We'd have stayed up. But we'd have had to, in that instance, we finished top six form to get 16th. 2010-2011, 15, 58 points. That would have meant we'd have finished on 43. 22nd, relegated. If we'd have finished on that, would have been 5 points from safety. Again, we'd have needed top 10 form. Next season, 93 points, second. Would have been on 78, and that would have got us 6th. So we would have actually finished in the playoffs that season, despite having minus 15. Obviously, this again, I want to stress as well, this is the second season in League One. Yep. The other one was second season in League One. Then we go forward to 2021, 2022. We finished 4th. Obviously, we lose out to Sunderland in that season. We would have dropped to 11th. Which we would have we'd have stayed in the league, but we would have been out of the top 6. And then the last season that we were in League One, 3rd, 96 points. If you take 15 off that, would have been 81, which would have meant us finishing joint 5th and still in the playoffs. So, quick summary: 6 seasons, we'd have been relegated twice, we'd have got playoffs twice, and finished mid-table twice. And again, worth noting that the 2 in the playoffs were the second seasons in that particular league. So I think it's doable. We can stay in the league, but also we've seen there's 2 occasions there where it would send us straight back down. Well, I say straight back down. It would send us down into League Two. To be honest, it's a precarious thought, isn't it? Really, it's not the point me where I'm thinking, easy, just 15 points. We can easily do that. It's not as straightforward as that, is it?
Nope. It's down to the squad, and those two where you were talking about the relegations, those two would be on the first season of being down at that level. So presumably, you would presumably looking at those squads where we would have been relegated at that level, where we've started slow in League One and haven't adjusted. That's because, correct me if I'm wrong, James, we actually had to do quite a lot of squad rebuilding. Whereas the last time that we went down to League One, where we finished 4th and then 3rd, guess what? We didn't actually have to do a lot of squad rebuilding because the majority of players stayed post-COVID.
Yeah.
We brought in a lot of players in that time, but we actually had to do a big squad rebuild post-COVID. The first year that we came down, we retained our most important players in terms of Baz, Josh. I know Windass didn't play much, but we retained those, and we retained and kept a core and a spine. Sam Hutchinson was kicking about. A spine of players who had been successful at a previous level. Yes, there were more miles in their legs. Yes, they were years older, but they knew what it took to be successful playing for this football club.
A lot of people have also cited the manager as well, by the way, in Darren Moore.
Yeah, and again, this was another discussion point that came up on Saturday with an individual who was, Darren Moore was shite while we were in League One and all the rest of it. My personal belief was that Darren Moore was not shite. The actual job that he did here in terms of turning around the circus, which was Sheffield Wednesday at the time, was incredibly difficult to do, and he doesn't get the credit for it because the football wasn't sparkling, free-flowing, attacking football where we're slapping teams week in, week out. I look at the squad rebuild that needs to be done here. We spoke about it last week, James, where we're talking about going out and effectively signing best part of near as makes no difference 20 players. You're getting relegated because we also don't know if the manager's going to be here next year. So you're talking a new manager, new coach. Worst case scenario: new manager, new coaching staff, potentially a new head of recruitment. You'd hope a new director of football, a new head of footballing operations, and 20 players. You're getting relegated. There's no ifs or buts about that.
Big question though, Matt. Will Doris the tea lady still be there?
I fucking hope so. Her head should be on the chopping block, but she should still be there at the end of it because she's a good egg. But
it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? Really, when you look at it.
God, yeah.
When you look at, when you look at bringing just those players in, we saw that first season, in League One, the most recently, that first season when arguably I think we had a better squad that first season than we did the second, in terms of
quality.
More suited, a better quality of player, better suited for the championship life and stuff. Unfortunately, the thing is, we didn't actually get there, and then we had a League One squad to get us out of League One. Anyway, we've gone over that many times. To bring that many players in, how many times have you seen it? Oh, we need time for them to gel. I mean, Christ, how much gelling are they going to need for a whole new squad who've never met each other?
Correct.
It's going to. The more I think about it, and like I said, initially I thought it wouldn't be too bad. The more I think about it, I just think it is an absolute car crash, and it's just there's gonna be so many moving parts. Nobody's gonna know what they're doing. Let's not forget, the owners are just getting their feet under the table as well. These owners are. We've spoken about Mike Ashley being, and I know Dom alluded to him as a safe pair of hands. Like if it's not him and it's someone else who hasn't owned a football club before, do they really know what they're doing? Right, at that point, have the appointed people in the right? Are they just going to hit the ground running and start doing things? Like there's like a bedding in process and a teething process that when you're on minus 15, like if you're starting on 0. Okay, I think
you can have a slow start, can't you?
Yeah, of course you can. You've just got to be better than 4 shit teams in that league to survive. Now we're saying, and like I mentioned on some of those, admittedly I've only looked at the seasons that we were in that league, but I referenced it I think last week. minus 15. At this point, we'd need to have top 2 form just to be getting out of relegation by Christmas.
Yep.
And then then you're in the relegation fight. All right, if you're playing top, if you've got top 2 form, you'd like to think you're gonna pick up enough points to get out. But that's the level you have to operate at.
Yeah.
We're talking about if we're going to get out, if we've got top 10 form, we could just be creeping out at the end of the season. Who wants that? Like, you'd be shitting your pants thinking we could actually be getting relegated here up until the final couple of games of the season. Like, it's.
My next question is for you, James.
Do you want your season ticket for next season?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it, mate. My next question is, because this was another argument that I heard on Saturday. Yeah, well, but look at why did Jay Stansfield go to Birmingham City? Money. Who the fuck is going to come to us on minus 15 at the start of a new season of the quality of player that you need to not only get yourself out of that, but then also have you at the end of the season challenging for playoffs? You would need legitimately a mid-table championship squad to come in, and then you are paying silly money on wages, not necessarily transfer fees, because there will be clubs who are desperate to get rid of those players because they'll recognise that they're not good enough. But you're paying potentially over the odds transfer fees because whoever it is who fucking comes in, whether it's Mike Ashley, whether it's Doris, whoever, they know we're going to be flush with cash because we haven't spent for the last 3 years. So there's going to be no restrictions there. Brand new, desperate to make an impression. I'm adding a 25% Sheffield Wednesday tax onto every fucking player that we try and sign.
Yeah, and that does happen, by the way, for people that are thinking, no, that's just a myth. Like, they do.
Of course it does.
Not just for Sheffield Wednesday. I want to say, was it Brian Laws who I was talking to? And I want to say Brian Laws, and he was talking to Sunderland, and it was Roy Keane at the time, and he was after a player. I want to say it was Graham Kavanagh, was he at
Andy Keogh. Graham Kavanagh was there, yeah, because we got him from Carlisle, but he'd previously played at Sunderland, yeah.
All right. Well, there was a player that we were either in for or that we signed. I want to say that we signed him on loan, and then they went about wage contribution, and then Brian Laws was like nothing, and then he was like, "What do you mean nothing? Like you Sheffield? I think his words were like you Sheffield Wednesday." Like no, like I've got nothing in the budget like that whatsoever for wages. Can you just give them to me? I can't remember if he came or not, but like the people like thinking what do you mean? You Sheffield Wednesday and stuff like that. The only thing when you said about who's going to come to Sheffield, like who's going to come to a team that's on minus 15, the only thing I'd caveat that with is to footballers it's a job.
I agree.
To fans, it's a way of life, and I think fans fans find it really difficult to kind of adjust to that sometimes when you hear it. But you did hit the nail on the head. Money talks, and then we're into the realms of wait a minute, we've been here before.
Correct.
Paying over the odds for players to come to a club because you're desperate, because it's not an attractive proposition. Coming to Wednesday in that first season wasn't an attractive proposition. We were floundering in mid-table for however long we were down there for, and you need to attract the players to come, and something you have to break that cycle, don't you? Somehow you've got to get some people in, and then the others will follow. So.
And that's it. You don't have a manager currently who is going to be able to do that, because every single player who came in League One, the last time we were down there, was in their first 3 sentences, the manager's truly great, and like I can't wait to play football for him. Now that was Danny a year ago. You try and convince players, Henrik Pedersen, if we only go 1 win all season, is the right manager to come for. Nobody's going to come unless you're going, I'm going to double your wage. And at that point, you're getting in mercenaries who... Michael Smith and Michael Heck were a prime example. Like, good players, good for the level. Do you think they really wanted to burn all those bridges at that previous football? Michael Smith was legitimately adored by Rotherham fans. Do you think he wanted to burn that bridge? Of course he fucking didn't. It's because money talks.
Yeah.
But then we're hamstrung with a player who last year, me and you both said, he's better off the bench for 20 minutes. You can't build around him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we could be sat here with egg on his face massively because next season,
Start at minus 15.
Yeah, all
Paid
these
70 mil.
all these stars might align. All these new players start gelling, and we're absolutely kicking up the league and stuff. But I do think it is right to have these sorts of discussions because you do get a bit blind by it all sometimes. Do you know what I mean? By just thinking, like I said, admittedly, everything will be okay. It'll be all right. But I don't think as well we're not too understanding of the magnitude of the task in hand as well. It is a total upheaval of from the ground up. You can also stake a claim for. I know last week went through the players that we'd keep and sell and get rid and what have you. You could also stake a claim for just clearing the whole decks. I know it's already a big job anyway, but let's just get rid of all this.
Everyone.
Yeah, I mean Bannon, all them people. These people have. If anything, let's be right about it and let's have that difficult conversation. Barry Bannon was brought in by that man and he was kept here by that man and paid a hell of a lot of money by that man as well. And he's been, I'm sure he's been privy to quite a lot of things that happened at Sheffield Wednesday that other people might not have been privy to. And he took him right until the very, very, very end when he was, swinging on the ropes for Barry Bannon to throw a few jabs in himself when he was on that podcast up in Scotland. There is an element of, I'm sorry, like we've. The new owners are going to have no sentimental views on. He is just merely a player at Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, look, it will rock a lot of boats if Barry Bannon was just to be bombed off at the end of the season. But there's an element of.
I've got one here, James. I've got one loaded in the chamber. Have a look at what Newcastle did to Jonas Gutierrez. Have a look at what... But that's what I mean, is that's what he was to Newcastle. He was their version of Bannon, and it wasn't because of what he did on a playing career. It was because of what he went through in his personal life.
Yeah.
He was immediately binned off, immediately at the first opportunity when he was out of contract. Now, if we are led to believe what is true of Bannon only signing a year deal, which Bannon would have been fucking stupid to sign for that reported fee for more than a year, what the fuck do you think is going to happen? Hang on, hold up, one sec. You're 36 turning 37. You've potentially got a hairline fracture to your, like, fibia, tibia, knee, whatever your knee injury is, or a serious ligament damage here. You played 40-odd games last year. Yeah, no, I don't see the value in that at all. At all. And that's horrible. But I'm also going, that's what a ruthless businessman does.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I know in that instance you're referring to Mike Ashley, but it could be anyone. Like that. That could be any of the new owners that come in. And yeah, we're just talking about a clean slate and just starting from afresh. I mean, all right, you wouldn't get rid of absolutely everybody because there is players like you'd see value in Deshaun Bernard.
Yes.
Certainly in League One could reinvent his career, could go for decent money in January if he has a good start. Your Ernie Weavers, your George Browns, them players that we've already spoken about. There's some decent ones that could actually. Stick along, but there's others that just think actually let's get rid, let's start again, and let's if we're going to do it let's do it properly, and let's really start again. I know this popped up in the Discord actually, and I thought I was one of the only few people that had this opinion, but I look back and I think we're going off on a tangent here, but I do think Barry Bannon did hinder us a little bit. Well, quite a lot, actually, really. When we're talking about young players coming through, we've never had any central midfielder play alongside Barry Bannon.
No.
Because I think it's evident that he has to trust that player.
Yeah.
He has to play with someone of a similar ability, if not better. When you're looking at Shea Charles, that makes him play better. When he doesn't trust them, Joey Pelupessy is a prime example.
Yep.
He just does their job for them as well as, and it just doesn't help the team dynamics. So him playing alongside a young kid like a Rio Shipston, for example, is never ever going to work. So hence why we haven't had any player come through with that ilk.
Who's the better player, James, currently? Fazaya Deli-Bashiru or Shea Charles?
Well, the fact one's playing the Serie A, it's Deli-Bashiru, surely. I would
Bannon
say.
didn't try, and he's number 10 for his national squad and scores goals for them and has scored goals in the Europa League and European Championships and also scored at his league level and all the rest of it. Went to Lazio for whatever the fee was recently. Baz didn't trust him.
But Barry Bannon did not recognise the talent. He didn't recognise the talent, did he, at all, either? No. He just saw him as a young lad who put milk in his cornflakes first, or whatever it was.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not... Again, it's to back up your point of Shea Charles is a fantastic footballer alongside Baz. Shea Charles is a genuinely fantastic footballer, full stop, end of discussion. Fazaya Deli-Bashiru is equally as good at football, plays a different position, but because we saw him next to go to your point, Bannon, Volks, Byers, who physically cannot do what he does. They can't pick the ball up, run the length of the pitch, beat 4 or 5 players and slap it in the top corner. I don't trust him because he might give the ball away. It's pure horses for courses.
Because it was never going to be Byers... Byers, Fazaya Deli-Bashiru and Will Volks, was it? It was never going to be them three in that. It was if Deli-Bashiru was going to play, it was the expense of probably George Byers, and then it was always going to be Barry Bannon plays every single game of every single season. Mad. I just want to bring this comment up from Big Revs because he's in the comments all the time, and it's I love it. I just can't read them all out, Revs, unfortunately. But pick your boat, HMS Pistol League or HMS Titanic 2.0. Yeah, and do you know what, Matt? Just on that before we wrap up. That is what I'm struggling with at the moment. It literally is a roll of a dice. Like I feel like we're such. Are we on a knife edge? Maybe like
yes.
I feel like we are. This is a moment, and maybe it's like this for any sort of takeover and stuff. We could get the best owners, and we could just jet off, and that could be it. We've gone down, but we'll piss the league, as Rev says. We'll do all these amazing things, and we will be the next Brighton. But similarly, we could be writing history in the history books of Sheffield Wednesday of being the first. It'll be the first squad to have ever played in the 4th tier of English football. Do you know what I mean? Yep. And the fact that I don't know which one it's going to be. I have no inkling whatsoever. Maybe in a few months' time when we have got new owners, we might have a bit more of an idea as to which one it might be. But do you know what I mean? Right now, Daniel said it. We are at the crossroads. Yeah, we are at the crossroads. And I don't even think we're swaying one way or the other. We're literally sat bang in the middle.
I think you've got the opportunity here to do a full hard reset that the football club needs and has desperately needed for the last 26 years. Are fans ready for it though, Matt? That is the problem. I don't know if we are. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not, James. This sounds so horrible. It doesn't matter because what is the alternative? To go back into the cycle of effectively. This really sounds like I'm going at Mike Ashley again. It's sort of, but this isn't necessarily Mike Ashley. This is looking at the ownership model of somebody like Mike Ashley.
Yeah,
you have him come in, he gets you promoted back to the Championship, and then what? Because he runs it on a shoestring, and then you're just a mid-table Championship club again, which is fine for 5 years, like genuinely fine for 5 years. But to go back to the point that somebody was making to me on Saturday when they were advocating for somebody like Mike Ashley, they were caveating it with, I want my lad to watch us in the Premier League. You're not going to get that with somebody who runs it on a shoestring. You're not. Like, we've seen how close you can get when there is investment, but then you're going to go potentially 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years without it because of financial mismanagement.
Big Rev says, which teams have dropped that low, rebuilt and come back? Off the top of my head, I mean, teams that have got Portsmouth, but they're
not Prem.
They're not, are they? They've got back to the Championship, but they're languishing. They're teetering over the drop. Bradford City is one that they've been stuck down there. That's the one that I always go to. They went down there and they got stuck. I know they've come out, and I know they're now top 2, top 3.
League 2 is a rat race. League 2 is a proper rat race.
Yeah, they're up there. Daniel's saying Coventry. Did Coventry go that?
Yeah, Coventry went down to League Two. Yeah.
Yeah. So how long ago was that? Was that?
That was Mark Robbins. 8 years ago now?
Right. Okay. So yeah, they. I suppose we are a little bit similar to them, I guess. 2017, 2018. In terms of, I think we're a bigger club than them, but yeah, they look like they're going to be in the Premier League next. But it took one, a lot of belief in one manager there, didn't it? Really, to go all the way through and actually giving him that free reign, that the authority, I guess, to do the things that he wanted to do. Which
it also took an owner who saw a long-term vision, not short-term gain.
Yeah.
That's what it saw somebody take a club from on its knees and go, do you know what? This is going to be slow. It's going to be the best part of a decade. It's not something that I'm going to come in and look to again. It sounds like I'm digging him out. I'm not. It's somebody who looks to build consistently. And no, it's not going to be fun to begin with. It is going to be shit. But actually, if you look at the players that have come from playing for Arsenal now, whatever you think of Victor Gyökeres was there. Gustavo Harmer, I know he plays for the other side. He's one of the best players, if not the best player in this division, played there. James Maddison played there. All of these players came because somebody had a actual vision to go, let's think bigger than just get back up inside of a year. Sunderland, prime example. I know they only went to League One, 6 years down there, and it took 6 years for them to go, someone needs to push a hard reset. Ipswich, exactly the fucking same. This is the opportunity to do it.
I think quickly, I think the other one as well that you've got to look at is, so we're talking about that season, 2017, 2018, when they came out of League Two. They came sixth. So they didn't piss the league. No. They had to come up via the playoffs. They then season in League One, just outside the playoffs. Then they went up top, and then they're now in their sixth season in the Championship. All right, they've got progressively better. 16th, 12th, 5th, all right, 9th, then 5th. But in that one, they finished 9th. They get to the semi-final of the FA Cup as well, which probably stunted them maybe in the
Massively.
league a little bit. Point I'm getting at as well, 2016-17, where were we? Well, that was, 17-18. So the season they came out of League Two, we had Carlos Cavalier at the wheel until he got sacked, and then Jos Lukai took over. Matt, how long ago does that feel?
Yeah, it does feel a long time.
But what point I'm getting at is, as a fan base, we have to be willing that this is how long it's taken for a team that has effectively looks like they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Other teams have fell by the wayside. Bradford might think that they're on that trajectory at the moment.
Yes.
Portsmouth might have thought they were on that trajectory, but they've stopped, so they don't get talked about because it's never happened. You always talk about the ones where the Lutons of this world. Oh, look how it's happened. But again, not every team that comes from League Two will go to the Premier League. It doesn't work like that. So but that's how long it's taken Coventry, and a lot of trials and tribulations in the meantime as well. As a fan base, we've got to be willing. I know we're talking about going down to League Two now, but the rebuild is going to be difficult, really difficult.
Yeah, it's not like like you mentioned Luton there. I went to a Luton Town national Blue Square Premier National League, basically.
Yeah.
I went to a playoff final at the Etihad that they got slapped about in, absolutely dicked in, and then they took another year to get up. Then they got up to League Two. Then they go from League Two to League One. They spend a couple of time at one of those two levels. Then they get up to the Championship. Yeah, okay, they're on this meteoric rise, and they then end up in the Premiership. It only lasts for 1 year. This was a point that I did finish off the conversation with the individual who I was speaking to at the weekend with. Staying in the Premier League is so hard now. It's not like 26 years ago. And he was saying, I want to be going and watching us in Europe. Yeah, me fucking too. But when you're looking at the sides that have done that, like Aston Villa, they haven't done it by thinking short-term, run things on a shoestring. They have attacked it in a different way. Forest have attacked it in a different way. Shoestring doesn't work. Like, it doesn't. Brentford is another prime example. Brighton, another prime example. Build it over a long, sustained period of time. And when you've got... Sorry, midway through, Daniel, I just want to see us win a game. Me too, mate. But it's like looking at that, and again, and I get it's probably people are now circling back to Mike Ashley or ownerships like that because they're feeling panicked and there's not actually anything else out there. Well, actually, there is other people out there. They're just not willing to pay the price point. But actually, I would argue, well, if you get somebody in who isn't willing to pay the price point, you do take us minus 15 hit, and you do finish just outside the relegation places in League One next year. But inside of a decade, you can say, actually, we'll be back up and we will be a sustainable Premier League team. I would much rather that than the idea of, right, we'll get somebody to come in and stabilise us and then flog us. Like, that's where I'm looking at it from, and that's where kind of my argument for... I would rather take a chance and roll the dice on the unknown than somebody who's going to come in as a safe pair of hands who is also an abhorrent human being.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to as well how poorly we've been treated by the previous owner as well. It is that anything is better than what we had before, and whether that's right or wrong for people to think like that, that's just a natural reaction from many people. But look. All this will be for nothing soon when we actually find out who it's going to be. And big Revs. I just want to see us win a first ball. Don't get me started on that, Revs. I was doing the watch along and I was getting very frustrated. We actually won one. We won a flick on.
If we're making requests, can I see a score from a corner, please?
We need to have like a bingo card.
Oh,
we need to
God. James, we need from a fucking corner. Can we do an emergency pod, please?
What, at the time? Like right at that time?
No. On the evening, right, this is a 5-minute special. We're going to analyse we've scored from a fucking corner.
Yeah, but honestly, genuinely, I think we need a bingo card for all the things that haven't happened in such a long time, and then we just need to make sure we tick them all off. We'll distribute them out to the Patreon members, so we'll have different ones on your bingo card, and we'll see who can who can get a line or a house the most. I don't know what answers on a. Get them in the Discord. What would be on the postcard? What things haven't happened in a long time at Sheffield Wednesday? Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few. Thank you very much, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. I am going to be back tomorrow with the debate show, but if you don't catch that, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Do what Hooper Poos has said and drink a lot of booze and just forget about football at least until Friday. Anyway, but no, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you all next.